There's no one quality that defines any of us. We all have a variety of different characteristics and identities. My identity is a psychologist, a mom, a friend, a girlfriend. All of those things are part of who I am, and there's no one label that could possibly encapsulate all of who I am. Have you ever wondered if the struggles or the challenges that you've had in your life are actually your own doing? And what I mean by that is the concept of self-sabotage. We're going to talk today about what that is, if that's even a thing, and some strategies we can learn to help us stop doing that. Hi, I'm Dr. Laurie Bruce. I'm a clinical psychologist and mindfulness coach and host of the podcast From Both Sides of the Couch, where I talk about all things related to mental health from both the perspective of a psychologist as well as a client in my own therapy. And today we're going to be talking about this idea of what it means to sabotage yourself. I get this question a lot from my clients. Maybe I'm just sabotaging myself. Why would I even do that? I know what I want, but I keep messing things up. Let's first start by talking about, where does the word sabotage come from? I did a very quick Google search, and so take this with a grain of salt. But Google says that the word sabotage is French, and that it comes from this interesting little story. So in French, which I did not take in high school, so I'm going to botch any word that is not Spanish, I'm going to botch. But apparently the word sabotage comes from sabot, meaning wooden shoe. And so apparently in the late 19th century, French workers, factory workers, were said to throw their wooden shoes into the machinery in order to damage it. And this was during labor disputes. They were fighting against some of the injustices that the workers felt they were experiencing. This was a form of protest and rebellion. And so from there, this word saboteur, came to mean to deliberately damage or obstruct. And the noun sabotage entered English in the early 1900s, and originally it was to describe unrest during labor disputes, but eventually kind of broadened to just the concept of to deliberately destroy or obstruct production. So the root idea when we think about this concept of sabotage is deliberately interfering with something's proper function. So the question is, do we ever deliberately interfere with our own proper functioning? It doesn't seem to make sense. Why would we do that? So let's kind of think about this and unpack this a little bit further. Sabotage, as I'm going to define it today, are the things that we do, either our behaviors, our thoughts, or our emotions, that get in the way of us achieving our goals or our emotional well-being. There are several ways that I see clients engaging in self-sabotage. The first one is through procrastination. Procrastination, we put off doing what we know we need to do. And procrastination can actually be a very common form of self-sabotage. There are so many things, when you think about it, that we have to do on a daily basis in order to function. From the moment we wake up until we go to bed, we have tasks related to getting up in the morning, practicing our hygiene, getting a shower, getting dressed, planning nutritionally for the day, going to work if we work, or working inside the home. So many responsibilities and tasks within our homes that we need to take care of every day. And so many things related to, say, our finances, our relationships, attending to our pets, attending to our own self-care. So many things. Many of those things are shoulds and not necessarily wants. Hopefully, several of those things are wants. I want to attend to my pet's needs. I want to attend to my finances so I can be more empowered. But realistically, there are a lot of things we have to do each day that are shoulds. We know we should do them, but we don't really want to. So procrastination with those tasks, particularly those boring, repetitive tasks, this is inevitable. And the goal or the expectation is not that we're always going to be perfectly organized, perfectly on time, perfectly attending to everything in the moment that we're supposed to. Nobody lives that way, despite what maybe your Instagram feed is telling you. Nobody lives that way. But when you notice that you are a chronic procrastinator, or that you end up noticing, oh, I'm spending so much time making up for the problems that were created because I didn't do something in time, that's when we know that, okay, maybe this could be some form of self-sabotage and it's worth looking into. A second form of self-sabotage is what I'll call labeling. Labeling is when we attach a particular word or label or something to ourselves and then tell ourselves, because of that label, I'm not able to do this. So, for example, if you attach the label to yourself, I have ADHD, so I can't attend to boring, repetitive things, or I have autism, I am autistic, and so therefore I can't really be around large crowds. So this is labeling yourself with this sort of one particular identity, and then saying that certain things, because of that label, are totally off limits to us. Maybe you've been given a label from the past that no longer serves you or no longer even describes you. You could, for example, have been a chatty kid. And so your parents, your teachers, the people around you labeled you as chatty or social, or excessively talkative, or an extrovert. And yet, who knows, maybe that's not something that you do anymore, and those labels no longer fit you. Maybe you've been given a label that is problematic, like overly sensitive. Or in my life, I used to give myself the label of lazy because I really just don't inherently enjoy moving my body very much. I am not athletic. I was never in sports. And so generally, I just enjoy my sitting time. And for a long time, I labeled myself as lazy. I am a lazy person. But when I really thought about it and broke that down, okay, I am not lazy. I work my off most days of the week. And even in my individual sessions with my clients, I'm working, I'm thinking, I'm trying to be as helpful as possible. It would not have been possible for me to go all the way through college and graduate school and get my doctoral degree if I were lazy. So the reality is, I am a hard worker mentally. I like to learn new things and I like to be mentally challenged. However, I don't necessarily like to be physically challenged. But just because I'm more capable of mental muscle building versus physical muscle building, that doesn't mean that I'm lazy. And I think sometimes I know I have used that concept of I'm too lazy, I can't exercise, or I'm too lazy, I don't exercise. Well, that's really kind of an excuse. So when I've really worked on reducing that label of being lazy and just saying I prefer mental activity over physical activity, notice how it opens up space for there to be a possibility that I could learn to maybe not enjoy, but at least to learn to do some more physical activities. And something that I'll just add real quick, please do not ever let someone else's label or description of you become your own identity. You are the person who creates your own self-description. Don't allow other people to define who you are. Maybe things have described you in the past and they no longer describe you today because, of course, we're always learning, growing, and changing. So pay attention to the labels that other people have given you and give yourself some space to ask, does this really fit me anymore? Maybe it never did. And see if you can try to stay away from overgeneralizations. Just because you're chatty in this situation doesn't necessarily mean you're going to be chatty in all situations. I used to label myself as shy, but the reality is I'm just shy in large groups of people that I don't know very well. It's uncomfortable for me and I have social anxiety. But put me in a room with 2, 3, 4, 5 of my favorite people, and trust me, I am not shy. I'm very chatty, and that's because I just feel more comfortable. There's no one quality that defines any of us. We all have a variety of different characteristics and identities. My identity is a psychologist, a mom, a friend, a girlfriend. All of those things are part of who I am, and there's no one label that could possibly encapsulate all of who I am. So try not to allow those all-encompassing labels to restrict or to limit you. Another thing that I see that often leads to self-sabotage is believing that things are going too well. When sometimes folks will come in and say, oh my gosh, I had a really good week, but I'm just waiting for the other shoe to drop, or I'm sure next week is going to be really shitty. And this is particularly common for folks with depression. When you are used to day after day, week after week of things not going the way that you want to, and you feel unhappy and sad and down, imagine you have this moment of a couple of days or even a whole good week. It's hard for your depressed style thinking to be open to the possibility that, okay, maybe things are going to continue this way. Usually when we're depressed, we're thinking the worst, so that even if we have a good day, we're just assuming that the next day is not going to be as good. So if you have a history of things not going well or struggling with depression, and then all of a sudden you start having a few good days in a row, sometimes we can actually self-sabotage because it's hard to be in that space of assuming that something negative is going to happen, but not knowing when. So I've had some folks even recognize, yeah, I kind of sabotage that experience because I knew that this good feeling wasn't going to last. And so rather than just wait around for it to happen randomly and worry about when it was going to happen, I just kind of made it shitty on my own. We can also sabotage ourselves when things are going well, because on a very deep level, we don't feel that we deserve to be happy. We don't deserve to have these good things happening to us. If you grew up in a home where you were mentally, emotionally, physically, or sexually abused, we're going to carry a tremendous amount of shame. And we are also likely to hold on to this belief that we don't deserve good things to happen to us. If good things start happening to us, like we end up having a nice day with a friend, or someone gives us a gift or a compliment, we almost find that we need to reject the gift, reject the compliment, reject that friendship, because we don't feel on some core level like we really deserve those positive things. Another example of this is when things are going well, sometimes we also treat ourselves, and I put that in quotes on purpose, to things that might feel good in the moment, but actually are not good for us in the long run. The clearest example that I can give of this is, imagine that your goal is to lose weight. You want to lose 20 pounds. And you step on the scale and you realize, oh my gosh, I lost 5 pounds this week or 2 weeks, whatever. And you feel good. You feel happy. Wow, I'm working towards my goal and I'm accomplishing my goal. It is not uncommon for us to then treat ourselves or celebrate with food. And part of that is related to the fact that sometimes we don't know how to treat ourselves when something goes well. We don't know how to celebrate. We don't know what are healthy ways to reward ourselves that feel good both in the short run as well as the long run. I've worked with a lot of clients in this area, and I strongly suggest to all of my clients where their goal is some healthy weight loss, I really discourage the use of the scale, because using the scale as our guide of whether or not we have been successful never works. It never works, regardless of the number on the scale, whether you feel it's a good number or a bad number. Oftentimes we engage in behaviors afterwards that don't make us feel good. And so then that is sort of an example also of how we can sabotage ourselves when things are not going well. When things are going badly, sometimes we can try to treat ourselves or make ourselves feel better in ways that, again, are short-lived, but ultimately end up leading us to get further and further away from our goals. When things are not going well, we can also continue to sabotage, again, because of low feelings of self-worth, feeling that we don't deserve good things. So, of course, bad things are happening to me, so I'll just help that along a little bit more because, of course, that's all I really deserve. So what can we do about self-sabotaging? How do we stop ourselves from engaging in these behaviors? As always, it has to start with awareness. We cannot change what we're not aware of. So the first step is to increase your awareness of your self-sabotaging behaviors. If negative things keep happening to you, see if you can pause and take a moment to ask the question, what role, if any, did I play in things not going the way that I wanted them to? And it's really important that this question is not meant to judge you. It's not meant to criticize you. It's truly a question that we can ask with openness and curiosity and without judgment. Here are some examples of some good questions that you can kindly and gently ask yourself when things are really not going your way. Number one, in what ways does procrastination serve me? Or in other words, how might I benefit from waiting until the very last minute? This is a really helpful question to ask and ponder on what are some of the benefits of this. We aren't used to asking ourselves what are some of the benefits of negative behaviors, but the reality is there have to be some benefits. If there were zero benefits, we probably wouldn't be consistently engaging in these behaviors. An example might be, for this question of procrastination, I get to avoid fear of failure if I procrastinate until the very last minute. By procrastinating, I increase the chance that I'm actually not going to do well, and I don't have to risk that emotion of will I or will I not be successful. We can just tell ourselves I'm not going to be successful and not have to sit with that discomfort of the unknown. Maybe I get to avoid the feeling of being rejected by someone. If I continually put off asking someone for a date or to spend some time with someone, then I don't have to feel that fear that someone might reject us or tell us that they don't want to spend time with us. So there are many, many examples of ways in which procrastination serves to help us avoid certain thoughts, feelings, or other behaviors. And it's a legitimate question to ask with curiosity about yourself. A second question is, what labels do I give myself? And do I believe that these labels limit me in some way? What are the ways that I might actually benefit by assigning a label to myself? And if I were to stop and take that label away, if I were to say, I don't have that label anymore, what might I need to face? What might I feel like I need to do? Or what might I feel like I could start doing? Does dropping a certain label open you up for more opportunities and experiences? If you do find yourself having a specific label that you're ready and willing to drop, ask yourself if there is a more nuanced way of describing yourself. So, as I said before, when I gave myself the label of lazy, this really limited my physical activity. When I opened up the more nuanced description of myself as I'm a very hard mental worker and I don't really like to work on my physical muscles. That's very different than telling myself I'm lazy. So ask yourself, what are the more nuanced ways that you can describe yourself? And by doing so, does that open up the possibilities for you to learn new things? Lastly, a third question that you can ask yourself is, do I intentionally make things worse for myself when things are really going well or when things are going badly? So here we want to lean into the questions around my needs for control. How much do I need to control and predict my future? And therefore, do I sabotage just so I can have that sense of control and predictability about my future? How much of that might be related to feelings of worth and deserving? If we have awareness that we really struggle with feeling like we deserve to be happy or to have good things come to us, maybe we could ask the additional question, can I know for sure that I don't deserve this? Is it possible that these are just old messages and it's not true at all? Maybe I, just like everyone else in the world, deserves to have good things come for them. Just because I feel something doesn't make it true. I can feel like I don't deserve something, but that definitely doesn't make it true. Now I'd love to hear from you. Are you aware that you have some tendencies towards self-sabotage? And what do you think drives that? Is it any of the things I've talked about today in terms of procrastination, labeling, things going well or things going badly, or something entirely different? I'd love to hear from you. You can either leave a comment below or you can contact me directly. And the best way to reach me is at my website, drlauriebruce.com. I hope this episode has been helpful for you. And if you know anyone in your life who you think really self-sabotages, maybe you could just gently and kindly pass this along to them. Hope you have a good week, and I will see you in the next episode.